Incoming message.
Hey, guess what? I've got a job that you're going to love. Nice and easy. This is a strictly salvage mission. No crazy shit, I promise. One of those old pre-FTL generation ships from the 2000s, the Mugungwha, however the hell you pronounce that, just popped up my radar. Its disappearance was apparently some big unsolved mystery. Never made it to its destination, I guess. It's just drifting lifelessly in orbit of Antares B. I'll send you the exact coordinates. It's pretty hard to get a visual on, probably why nobody's found it before. The sponsor for this one is a historical society from the outer colonies. Here's what the objective card says. Download any log files you can, especially any that can explain what happened to the ship. If possible, speak to the security AI mute for assistance. It's a good, easy gig, and I want you to take this one. It should be a social enough for you. I don't want to hear any complaints. Dispatch control, out. Welcome everyone to my brand new Let's Play for my Super Indie Summer. Analogue, a hate story. Available on Steam and at the main developer's site. The developer of this game is a woman by the name of Christine Love, and Analogue, a hate story is really fascinating. We're going to start a... No, we don't want to restore my old file. We're going to start a new file here, and what you're going to soon see is that Analogue is a game that is very minimal on gameplay. So we're going to enable an AI, artificial intelligence program to... Okay, I guess we can't. How about disable an AI? No AI is enabled. We'll enable one already. I guess it has to have an input of personality. But this game is not heavy on gameplay in any way. In short, I can describe it as a reading game. If that doesn't interest you, then maybe you won't like this LP, but I thought this would be a perfect game to LP on my channel, since it's mostly dialogue, and it lets me do a lot of talking. Hello? Oh my word, an external connection. Is someone out there? It's been so many years since I've spoken to anyone. Oh jeez, I'm being discourteous. My apologies. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Hayun. The star is, of course, silent. It just represents that I'm an AI. I control all the log keeping systems on the Mugungwha, or at least what's left of them. Please just excuse me for 1 second. I'll give you a terminal so you can respond. There you are. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh dear. Sorry, can you type that again? Oh jeez, my apologies. I don't know why, but what you typed just looked like garbage to me. That's bad. I think there may be a problem with my language paraphrasing systems. Ah. Sorry, somehow your input is getting mangled between the terminal and me. I'm so terribly sorry. Let me just try something. Can you understand this? Alright. Can you click it again to confirm that you can understand what I'm saying? Very well, we have that at least. I'm afraid if we can't get text input fixed, that will have to suffice. I'm terribly sorry. It must be difficult being unable to say anything. This might be difficult then. Well, nevertheless, as the archive system AI, I'll do my best to try to help you navigate these records anyway. Unfortunately, it might be a little difficult since, well, without language paraphrasing, you won't be able to do text searches either. Don't worry though, it's my duty to provide assistance with archive functions. I'll do my best. Right, let's see. I'll try to provide you with a sampling of logs to start you out with, and you can just show me things that you want more information on. I hope that'll be acceptable for you. That's all I can do. Well, that's all, I suppose. Pardon me. Let's just build you an interface to work with, so you won't have to struggle with the terminal. Very well, it's all set. And, I suppose, this a little bit awkward, but can I just have you say that just one more time? Get you to work this thing? Yes, just very happy to be working with you. I've had nobody to talk to for such a long time. I got so lonely. Having someone to talk to is just really, really amazing. I thought maybe I never would again. Sorry about my communication barrier, but even still... Oh jeez, I'm babbling. I won't hold you up any longer. Here's your interface. I hope it's good enough. So this is our artificial intelligence program here, Hayun. No, she's not British. She is in fact Korean. But I don't have a Korean accent to do, so you're going to have to deal with that one. Sorry, guys. But I think it's a fun time, since quite often in LPs I don't get a chance to use that one. Might as well do it here. So in this game we have to go through lots of log files and figure out what happened to this derelict ship. Kind of an interesting take on that. We've played so many games in the past that have had us explore ships of sorts that have been deceased, but never in this sort of fashion. A pack of idiots. Smith Kyung Sam. When our family falls into decline, I just want it to be perfectly clear why. It's because Dai Hyun's sons are the biggest collection of idiots on the entire ship. Father says these sorts of words shouldn't be written down, calling them unfilial, but I'm skeptical. I intend no disrespect to my noble ancestors, but my dead uncle is no ancestor of mine, and his family deserves no respect. This has been in motion for years now. It was an inevitability, even that any sons of Dai Hyun would turn out the way they did. But up until now, to anyone outside of the family, it's been well hidden. Only now is it starting to fall apart in a way that no amount of good politics can disguise. The turning point was this year. At the time I write this, I am returning from Sang-young's funeral. In that family, there were 3 brothers: Sang-young, the drunk; Sang-kyu, the dim-witted brute; and Sang-min, who, despite being the eldest, seems to have more interest in cavorting with the courtesans than creating an heir. Noticeably absent from the morning proceedings was Sang-kyu. What he was doing, I do not know. Knowing him, I can only guess. The affair was made even more laughable by Sang-min and his widowed mother's insistence that Sang-young had died of natural causes. Apparently, they had even found a doctor willing to put such nonsense on the official record. An unmarried noble managing to drink his way into the grave at only 30 of age, 30 years of age that would be embarrassing enough. To brazenly try to hide the obvious, however, that will mark the beginning of the Smiths family's fall. Oh, hello. Actually, I was just testing that indicator icon to see if I could get your attention. I just thought it'd be a good way of letting you know when I have something to say. I mean, like, if I think it's super important, I can always just interrupt you, but I don't want to distract you if I can't help it. I mean, that'd suck, right? What kind of computer program forces herself onto you right in the middle of what you're trying to do? So I'll try not to do that. Anyway, that's all. I guess it worked. Carry on, and I'll set the indicator icon again if I want to tell you something. Well, the only means of communication we have with our AI program, Hayun, is by showing her messages, so we might as well show her this one. So here's the background, I suppose. There were 2 major noble families on the Mugungwha. The Kims were the big one, as I'm sure you can see. The Smiths, the other major family, but I'm afraid I can't really tell you very much about them. They were the most important family on the ship until just before the end. The High Magistrate was a Smith until the very last year even. I can give you a little bit about them for reference, so you can see who the Kim men thought their big enemy was.
The Smiths didn't really matter very much at the end, so I can't. Well, I don't know much about them. I certainly never met any of them, so I'm just going off what I read. Here, it should give you an idea of what I mean.
Contempt. Oh Sojin. Despite having hardly shown their faces in the entire time I have lived in the Smith house, the second branch of the family has taken it upon themselves to visit again, a week after we forced to endure their smug eye-rolling at the funeral. Of course, it would be impolite to turn them all away at the door, no matter how poor taste their timing was. So what other choice did we have but to let them in? Husband wanted to have nothing to do with them, being distracted by Jangmi, a mother-in-law had been hiding in her room, leaving it to me to entertain them. Of course, as soon as I had sent their son to go see our daughter, cousin-in-law Kyung Sam made it quite clear that it was not that sort of visit. His wife just sat there silent while he ripped into me. I couldn't write down all his words. It was simply one line of abuse after another. Apparently, we were to be blamed for Sang-kyu leaving before they showed up, for wearing the wrong mourning garb, for my husband's shock reaction at his brother's death. In fact, we were to be blamed for his death itself. All he kept shouting about was how embarrassing for the family it was that a nobleman of the Smith house had been allowed to drink himself to death. As if the real tragedy was that it looked bad. I might have felt bad about Sang-jung dying, but the rest of the family did. To hear such words making light of their loss was appalling. Yet he kept going, shouting awful thing after awful thing, until finally, the most unexpected thing happened. Mother-in-law entered the room. "What is going on here?" she asked. He stood up. "I was just passing on a message to son's wife about his disgraceful conduct, since he won't show his face himself." Then he added, "I'm embarrassed to be a Smith right now. Do you think people don't know about our family's shame? Did you have any idea how much of a fool I look like?" I never saw a more terrifying expression in someone's face. She just glared at him. Finally she said, "Yes, but you clearly do not. Or you would have lowered your voice." It took him a moment for that to register. Then he was just shocked, but mother-in-law wasn't done. "Please leave," she said. "Now." They stared at each other for a good while. Mother-in-law naturally won, and with a scowl, Kyung Sam and his family departed. When they had left, I turned to her. "Thank you," I said. But she just shook her head in disgust and exited to her own room without another word.
"Sorry, I don't really think there's anything else about them you'd find relevant."
Well, if you suggest. But the point of this game, as our mission statement has said in the beginning, is to download all the data that we can, so by example is the next entry we should read. And now you understand my forewarning is that this game is really not one that has you do the traditional types of gameplay you're used to facing in video games. This is more of an interactive story, if anything. So if you're not interested in that, then take a hike. But really, this is an amazing story, and I wanted to share it all with you people here. There are 5 different endings to this game, so the one that I'm going for is my particular favorite, but there are 4 other options to do, and of course percentages and things to unlock. So check it out on Steam or check it out at the main developer's website. A fascinating story. So buckle up, people, because this one is heady. It is more mature than most games that I've done on this channel, and it has very serious content at times. Anyway, by example, Smith Kyung Sam. I have given up on any attempts at convincing the main branch family to get their act together, as clearly speaking reason to any of that pack of idiots is a fool's errand. Now I can only hope that their self-destruction is quick, such that when it's my son's turn to pick up the pieces of the Smith name's reputation, he will be able to do it as soon as possible. He seems far, far less worried about it than I am. Of course, he is only a child, but the boy is mature for his years, and perhaps there is wisdom in his calmness. All we have to do is be better than them, right? He asked me while I was in a rage about the handling of the funeral. Isn't that what gentlemen do, lead by example? He is right, of course. As a noble family, we're supposed to be an example to the middle classes and the commoners and the slaves. Perhaps so too must we serve as an example to the family of the High Magistrate and his brother. Perhaps things will not be so doomed for my son after all. It will be hard for him, of course, if the main branch family continues on this path of decay. But if any boy will grow up to be able to put things right, I believe it is him. Here comes the fall. Smith Kyung Sam. Here comes the fall. At least nobody's going to say I didn't see this coming. News that Sang Min has gotten sacked just came in, which is definitely the death of any respectability in this family. Temporary leave, it's been described as, but it's obviously a political move on the part of the emperor. I think I've got a pretty good idea of what he's playing at, too. He's hoping that making a move against Sang Min will push him over the edge, make him do something indefensibly stupid, and use that as an excuse to shuffle him off for good. It's a good plan. It'll work. Meanwhile, the Kim family seems to be up on the rise, getting ready to fill the gaps left by our collapse. Now it's all up to my son. If he's not able to rebuild after all this, then the whole family is doomed to permanent decline. Everything rides on him. So that is the first block, giving us a bit of information on one of the families here. Now, before we end today's episode, I would like to check out the helpful notes. Analogue gives you some notes on name pronunciation, also gives you the Kim family tree. So we can see, what do you think about this, Hayun? That's the end of the Kim family tree, as best as I could possibly manage to compile it. I'm afraid it's the best I could do. Ordinarily, women's names aren't even put on genealogies, so I had trouble with those. I hope that helps you keep track of the family, though. Huh, that's strange. Women's names aren't kept on the genealogy? When I was going through bio this past semester, they sure were. This should be some interesting clue as to what the society was about. Notes on pronunciation. If you are new in pronouncing Korean names, this will give you a helpful guide to look at. Well, even if there's an error stopping me from understanding the words you type, I can tell by the packet data header that you're using English. I've no idea how much you know about the Korean language, but I thought, just in case, you might want some help with how to pronounce names and such. I hope that's sufficient enough. It certainly is, Hayun. And a last, very important thing to leave this episode off on and remember, it's a cliche to remember, Namjon Yeobi. Men are honored, women are abased. If you can only remember one thing, remember this phrase as you play this game. Really, that's just something you need to keep in mind when reading these logs. It was considered to be the natural way of things. Well, what do you think? It's bullshit. I know, right? Just absolutely terrible and stupid, but that was normal. So try to keep that in mind. That's what everyone really did believe, even nearly all of the women. And if that sounds terrible to you, well, you must come from an awfully nicer society. I don't know if my society's nicer, but I certainly do have my own perceptions on the way things are in life. So you'll be able to scan my perceptions and read along with the logs and figure out more about Analogue, A Hate Story in the next episode. See you then.